Have you ever had that struggle of not knowing what to play? Have you ever had that problem of, not being able to figure out what game you want to run next, even if you have a massive list of games available in your library? The answer from most of you is probably yes. But what if the reason you have that struggle of what to play is because there's not much that you can play without the assistance of others? Hi everyone, I'm Sightless Combat. This is another SK Talks video, this time on the topic of the seemingly eternal struggle. And that, can be used to mean a lot of things in terms of accessibility. That's, the framing device for all of this. The fact of the matter is, recently I've come to a rather frustrating conclusion in that, even with all the accessibility going on with games like God of War Ragnarok and The Last of Us Part 1, coming out soonish, as of the time of this video is recording at least, even with those games coming out, the fact of the matter is, accessibility can be better, but not only can it be better, it should be more widespread. That's because, there are so many gamers on the planet that have a disability, whether it's a complete lack of sight, whether it's, slight visual impairment, whether, varying levels of visual impairment, whether it's, hearing difficulties, whether it's motor challenges, or, however you want to phrase it. There are so many people with disabilities on the planet who want to game. 20% of the world's population has a disability. That's a big number. There are 3 billion gamers on the planet. That's the figure that's been used by Xbox before and by other companies as well. And really, we should be able to choose what we want to play, based on our own tastes, our own preferences, and not have to enlist the assistance of others. And that doesn't just go for being able to play the games, it goes for being able to experience the hype around the game. So whether that's the trailers being audio described, having, good quality captions, or, whether that's online events having, audio description where needed, similar to the trailers, or images having alt text in press releases and being, well put together to be comprehensible in that regard, or whether it's even just being able to access things like, art books and understand, the making of the game itself, which is sometimes not possible unless you then read up on the comments of videos and, get information from those. And, I've been wanting to play a lot of games, and at recent events, I've mostly just spent time sitting there wondering, will I be able to play this? And thinking to myself, probably not. And sometimes, it's because a game's been in development for a while. I understand that games take years to develop. But also, even with like announcements and teasers for games that are really far out or aren't coming for a good while, I still wonder, will I be able to play this? Will, whoever's working on it consider accessibility for any number of reasons? And, I just want the industry to be aware that accessibility is crucial. For instance, right, the way I've said it to people before sometimes is, even if you have sight now, there might be a time in your life where you have no sight at all. You would still want to game, right? And people have responded to me before and said, well, no, I couldn't game without sight. And my response to that is, well, you'd want to though. And they say, well, yes, of course. Yes, of course, I would still want to game. And, the answer to that is adding accessibility, not just for the people who need it, the so-called target audience. It's for the people who can use it regardless of the reason. So menu narration doesn't just help people like myself with no sight at all, also helps people who are sitting far away from a screen and have difficulty reading. It helps, people who might have trouble processing a bunch of you know, menus and things on a visual level, and they might learn better on an auditory level. Subtitles are a big one as well, where, you know, they're useful if you have the volume turned down and, you know, you've got people sleeping in the other room and you don't want to wake them up. Not just because you can't necessarily hear the game well. Or, you know, if a mix is bad, as happens sometimes in films. If a mix is bad and you can't understand the dialogue, what do? You put the subtitles on and read those. You know, even if it's in the language that you speak and understand natively. So, you know, accessibility isn't just important for the target audience, the niche audience that might be the people you're thinking accessibility is for. It's for everybody. You design for one and you can include many other people than you're, you know, many more people than you're designing for at the heart of it. And introducing it early in development, crucial again, because the earlier you do it, the easier it is to put those features in as a core integrated setup. But how did this relate to the eternal struggle, or the seemingly eternal struggle, of knowing what to play? I choose what I can play based on, well, not what I can play, I choose what I want to play based on the accessibility of it and how much fun it's going to be for me. And, you know, ideally, if I don't have to enlist assistance from other people, then I will play that game. You know, but it's not just about that. It's about what platforms I want to play on. I want to play on every platform I can. I want to play on mobile, I want to play on PC, I want to play on Xbox, I want to play on PlayStation, I want to play on Nintendo Switch. All of those platforms. I want to play in VR. You know, I have a VR headset. I've only been able to play one game that was part of a user research project. And, you know, that was amazing, but I want to be able to play more without assistance. And as I've said, you know, in a previous video, that's a big thing for me, full agency. But having to, you know, find games to play sometimes on a whim, sometimes at the last minute due to changes in plans. You know, I don't resent people for having a life, for having to change their plans at the last minute. That's fine. It's then, you know, what can I play that I'm going to enjoy? And so I'm not playing the same 4 or 5 games over and over and over again. I want variety just as much as everyone else does. I want to enjoy different stuff. I want to have, you know, different experiences in video games. And that's why I thought I'd make this video, just to express that, to say, you know, the industry is doing a great job with accessibility. It's been progressing over the past several years, but there can be more, it can be better, and it should be more, and it should be better. And, you know, until such a time as, you know, I can play loads and loads of games, and the accessibility versus price problem where you don't have to justify, you know, you don't want to have to justify the cost of a game based on how playable it's going to be. You want to be able to just go into a shop and say, I want this game, and know that it's going to be accessible. I've been saying it for such a long time. But until that, you know, becomes the norm, we're going to have to keep fighting for it. We're going to have to keep pushing for it. Being constructively critical, not rude, not, you know, overly bashing a game because it's inaccessible. Just being reasonable, working with developers, with communities, you know, not relying on mods, you know, particularly for, you know, games that can have accessibility implemented. You know, mods shouldn't be relied on, but that's a whole other video, arguably, even though mod developers are amazing and doing fantastic things with games like Factorio, for instance, and Hades and Hearthstone Access. And, you know, but the console space in particular, there are so many games out there, so many things I want to try, so many things I want to play, but I can't because the accessibility just isn't there. And it could be. And that's what I want, you know, to impress upon people. It can be there. The accessibility should be there, not just for me and, you know, the people who need the features that the accessibility can add, but for everybody so that they can play the way they want to play. And I want that struggle to not be a thing. I want to be able to just calmly choose a game at the last minute and be like, yeah, I want to play this now because, you know, I've heard really good things about it. I enjoy it, or it's my kind of genre. I don't know. all those reasons and more. And it would just mean a lot to me. It really would, because it takes such a toll after a while. After weeks, after months, after years of having to play the same games over and over again when you don't have assistance, or when you can't get assistance, or, you know, any permutation of that. The fact of the matter is, accessibility is a core part of the games industry now. And when it's not there, it's a shame. It really is an absolute shame that it's not there in the first place. And it just frustrates me that these amazing, well-crafted experiences, these touchstones of culture that people are talking about constantly on forums, on the internet, and, you know, looking forward to, are things that, even if you can enjoy looking forward to it, so say the trailers were already described, the press releases have alt text on their images, the forums are accessible, the community managers are really engaging, all of that doesn't necessarily help when the game itself isn't accessible. Because, you know, you can't engage in the arguably one of the biggest parts of it, which is the game itself. So accessibility is a bigger spectrum than most people probably realize, but, you know, it should be able to be engaged with by as many people as possible. And if you want to discuss that with me, if you want to talk about your frustrations, your stories, your, you know, your hopes, your dreams of accessibility, or if you're a developer, you know, a developer, a company, a studio, a publisher, an organization who wants to band together to help make this happen in a constructive way and move the industry forward, I am all ears. I am all in for this, and I am happy to assist where I can. That's the key message. I and so many others are happy to assist. We want to make this work through, you know, representation in video games, you know, having characters with disabilities represented, including Gamers Without Sight, with characters that just aren't flat and one-dimensional, getting people up on stage at events, you know, for instance, as well, who, you know, you can then identify with, to, you know, being involved in teams, you know, giving their lived experience, their perspective. All of that is part of it as well. Everything is. And, you know, if you want to discuss that further, I am happy to do so. In any case, I know this has gone on for a little while, but I hope this has been an insightful look into, you know, what it is to have to live by accessibility rather than just seeing it kind of appear and being excited for it. As much as you can be excited for it, there's a flip side to when, you know, when it's not there, when it doesn't exist, when it's not available to you, including, you know, when it's retrofitted in later. You know, there's that side of it too, and I hope that's been insightful. In any case, if there's any other topics you want to see me cover on these videos, then please do let me know, and I will happily answer and look into putting those into action. And if there's other content you want to see from me as well, I have a big project planned that Janissary and I have been discussing that you might be curious to see later down the line. Kind of in line with these videos as well, but more of an edited together sort of montage style thing, which you might find very interesting. So if you want to see that, do, you know, drop a like, a follow, or subscribe, and, you know, click the notifications to turn those on so you don't miss any when I do upload anything like this or any of my other content as well. But in any case, all that remains for me to say is I've been Sightless Combat. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all the support, all the likes, all the comments. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.